Worthy, thank you so much for coming into the studio. Oh my gosh, I've been wanting to get you in here for so long. I was literally talking to everybody. I was like, yeah, so can we please get Worthy in the studio? Like, I've been wanting you since like before Christmas. I was like, this dude is something else.
Oh,
So,
late Christmas present.
exactly. You're welcome. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Yeah.
So, being the film department head, what kind of got you into film? Like, how early of an age did you start kind of getting after it?
So I think interested in like film television ever since like I was like really, really little. Like straight out the womb, I was watching movies. I think most people were. Like I don't know a lot of people who like don't, but I think I was really interested in storytelling in general and just like I think I had a very overactive imagination. The first time I actually like worked on a film was kind of like we had like Culverhouse films which were like our kind of like families films we made on iMovie. We'd make them with like my like Legos, my Batman action figures, like stuff like that. And I think like preschool age before. So I've been making movies for a while. My first ever film that like I directed, I
Mhm.
think I was like six or eight, and it was Little Batman. And it was like this really dinky short film we edited on our phones. And like you can like I was Batman, obviously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
obviously.
So my brother was
Oh
Robin.
God, what's up?
But like it was super pristine. Like you could hear my brother getting yelled at by my dad for being in the street. He's like, "Why get out the street?" And it was like,
Yeah.
yeah,
So would you say that I guess your family is like a huge factor of like your success in film as far as supporting you?
absolutely. They're very supportive. I think it can be daunting in a way to kind of support that because like that's kind of I think one thing that can be kind of scary is it's kind of like, when you're young, like your kids will be like, "Hey, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be like a filmmaker." And you're like, "Oh, yeah, 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 that's cool, that's cool." But then like they'll end up doing something else. But then it's kind of like, "Oh, he will not stop saying he wants to be a filmmaker." And I think that can be scary because it's
You think
like,
you're like, oh, there you go.
meh.
Yeah.
Because it's like you want your kids to be successful. You want your kids to have like a stable income. So like film
Yeah.
can be scary because like not a lot of people know what it's like. So so I'm just very thankful that they like to support me whenever I need anything or I need help. They always are there. So yeah, they're super supportive.
That's awesome. That is
Yeah.
awesome. And I know too, like you've got to have a really big community around that. I mean, now being in media, you have a whole department that you can
Right.
use at your expense for whatever film that you want. So I guess how's like your like development, or we talked about like you developing characters before like actually coming up with a
Yeah.
movie. So what's kind of like your pre-film process?
Um, it depends really. I do a lot of the time develop characters before I develop the story, just because I'm really interested in characters. I think they're really important. I think if you have a um a good sounding plot but boring characters, it's going to be a bad film. But if you have like a basic sounding plot but really interesting characters, like you're going to get a really good film. A good example is like Beautiful Boy, where it's about like a son struggling with his dad. There's like 500 movies about that, but because the performances are so good and the characters are like so well written, like people attract to that. So I think, yeah, sometimes I'll do characters and figure out like how do they act and how will they interact, and it creates a story from that. But sometimes like I'll just come up with an idea, and I'll be like, okay, then what characters would fit into that world? So
Mhm.
it really depends. Also like funny enough, like seasonal depends too. Because if I'm like, I
Yeah.
really want to make like a horror movie, or like I'm like riding down the street and I like see some Halloween decorations, I'm like that looks really cool. I'm like want to do something like that. So
Like it's
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely,
Oh my gosh, rep of the film.
absolutely. We watch that.
No, I know, but yeah, because whose house were you all at filming that?
So we filmed a lot of our stuff at James's house, but we
Yeah.
also filmed it at Alexis's house.
Mhm.
So that was an interesting thing to do because like you're filming at two people's houses and like it's fairly different. Like they got fairly different layouts. So to make like it look like that they were the same house was very like it was a difficult process for sure, but like
Yeah.
it's very satisfying how it turned out because you're like, oh, I didn't even like you'll edit. I'll be editing. I'm like, oh, I forgot that was at like a different house. So it's really cool.
Do y'all have like, I guess, designated rooms where y'all are like, all right, we gotta film in this room, but you can't film in that room because
Yes,
we're
yeah,
filming at like
100%.
Steve's
Yeah,
house. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. And then like what's your kind of, I guess, vision for the environment on set?
So I think as a director, you have a lot of different jobs. But one of them, as it obtains to, like the culture and stuff, is like you kind of have to be like a natural kind of like equalizer, where it's like you don't want s- set to be super stressful because at the end of the day, it is labor oriented. Like you're still doing work. It's not
Mhm.
like you're like chasing each other around with like water guns or anything like that. Like you are like you're working. So you don't want it to be too stressful because it's like, I mean, you still want people to enjoy the work because it's really satisfying and it can be really hard. But at the same time, you don't want people goofing off and say, oh, this is a party set. Like we can start like throwing cameras at each other. Like you don't want
Throw
anything
cameras at
too
each other.
crazy or anything like that.
Yeah.
So one thing that um you kinda have to do as a director is kinda, like, equalize.
Mhm.
So, find the balance, be the balance, because like it or not, each kind of situation, a set will naturally lead to that. And it depends who you have over. So for example, like if we have extras, right? And like some of
Yeah.
us wanted to bring our friends because we want them to cameo. Well, they don't really know what it's like to be on a film set. So they're naturally gonna want to like joke around, have fun, goof off. Oh, this is so exciting. And they get kind of excited. As a director in that situation, you kind of have to like be strict, be kind of like, hey, this is what we're doing, be quiet. You kind of have to enforce that a little bit more than you would on a more relaxed set, where then you're just kind of like, I'm just making sure everything's flowing. But
Mhm.
then on the other side of it, like if everyone's like super stressed out and they're really anxious, like provide that relief, like crack a few jokes, like make people laugh, like maybe like make yourself look a little goofy because in that way they're not so intimidated that they can't transform into another person. Cause that can be like, that's really hard. Like going from you being you and then you're becoming someone else is so difficult. And then if you throw like a camera in someone's face, like, oh, I don't know what to do. So like
Yeah.
crack a few jokes, make them laugh, make them excited to film.
What would you say your leadership style is like with your department?
I I think it depends. I think if we're like really heavy in editing, it's very kind of like this is what we need to do, kind of like very analytical, like these are the steps we need to take to get where we need to be. I think communication is really important. Because like again, it's a vision, like, it's a story
Mhm.
you're making. And if everyone's like kind of Frankensteining it, where we got one piece attached to another, it's kind of like doesn't work out. So I think communicating, but also like in a way, like I really want to educate too, because I want the people to love film and to like it as much as I do, but also like have the skills to where like if they're like, hey, I wanna make this crazy thing that, like, we couldn't make in media, whether we didn't have time or stuff like that, or, like, I just had this super, like, cool idea that I like that I wanna pursue, like, I want them to be able to do it on their own and, like, really enjoy it. So, I think, like, analytical, kinda educating, but also just, like, being like, providing relief too, like, "Hey, you can come to me, like, it's okay, because like,
Yeah.
I think that, like, it can be exhausting filming because like, a lot of these like, one of the days we filmed a 9 to 5. So, like, it can be really long days
9 to
filming.
5.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
because we want, like, the best we can out of the situation.
Yeah.
So, and when we're filming, like, especially on the longer days where we wanna, like, get multiple takes of something, especially if it's a really emotional scene, so the actors have room to kind of become that character in that moment, um it can be long to film. So again, like providing that relief, being like, it's okay. You can sit down, go drink some water. I have like a little like for the scenes we film outside. I have like a little like the neck fan things
Yeah,
for like
yeah.
hot. So if anyone needs that, like I got you, like anything like that. So I mean, like just like being able to be like, you can come to me, doesn't matter. And also just like don't be afraid to like poke fun of yourself. Like
Exactly.
don't show no self respect where it's like, oh, this guy's like an idiot. He does not respect himself. But like like, joke off, like joke around, like, you can, like, poke fun of yourself, like, it's okay, like, people aren't gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, what a loser. He just like was dancing
Such a
around.
weirdo.
Yeah, it's like I like people.
He's doing this again. Yeah.
Yeah, like you
I'm
know.
so curious when like you talk about actors getting into like like their emotions and stuff like that. What's like your tips and tricks? Like, do you have like any like cutting an onion in their face making them cry? Probably not, but like
Yeah, I
just
mean,
curious.
so,
I
mean,
mean, Julie.
I don't. They didn't like sign any paperwork, so I mean, like I think technically we could, and like no one would know, but like
No one would
if we
know.
wanted to. But
You're
no,
welcome for the
so-
idea. I'm sorry, all of film department.
no, this will be.
Celebrate to get some
Have you seen
onions.
onions next year in
Yeah,
y'all's
it's just
faces?
like-
My bad, my bad,
start
my bad.
sobbing. Yeah, no, because I'd get in my eyes, and then that's a situation. Because then like
Yeah.
everyone in the room's crying. It's like you're messing up the film. But for Crossroads, which is subtle little, go watch Crossroads.
Mhm.
We had a lot of crying. Like I think almost everyone cried. Or in some way showed like a lot of emotion because that's an emotional film. It's about like mental health in high school and how like we affect each other. Um, so for that we had a lot of crying, and typically we can use teardrops. Anderson actually has some that he'll use on himself. Um, I don't 100% advise like me being like pushing that onto someone else because teardrops sting. That's why they make you cry.
Mhm.
So like I'm always being like, we can pivot, like you can cover your face and we can like have you make crying noise, like stuff like that. So if they
Yeah.
want to use the teardrops, like they 100% can, but it's nothing we push on them. And then typically, if someone's crying, we'll do a closed set, which means it's only the camera and the boom operator and the person there. It's like when we're doing closed sets, like I'm not even there because it's everyone who 100% in order for the film to be a thing. It's like it's not like I mean they're crying. It's like I'm gonna be like, can you cry like with a different cadence, or can you be like, "Ooh, ooh, ooh," like it's not like that where it's like cry differently. So it's like I'm out there because I want again like being comfortable on set is so important because I mean, like, you get to see and I think that's one thing that, like, you get really close to people on set,
Mhm.
because, like, you get to see, like, really deep sides of themselves. I mean, like, people, they may not tell you what's going on, but, like, they will use, like, ways to make themselves cry. Like, they'll be like, "Hey," like, I'm not saying this is what happened, but, like, people will be like they may use, like, something that happened, like, early in childhood or, like, just like, "Hey, my something happened to my dog," and they'll use that as, like, an influence to make themselves pull out those emotions.
Yeah.
And so I don't want them to be like, this is the freaking like watch the girl cry show or like you have like 500 people like in the room and they're just like
Yeah.
eating popcorn and like watching you cry.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important. All I'll do is just like, this is the shot. Feel free to get whatever other shots you want to, whatever like makes sense. Give like a little bit more creativity to the cinematographer and then close set and then everyone just waits. And then when they're done, they come out and they cry.
So is it just like crying that y'all have closed sets, or are there like different like scenes as well where y'all like it's a closed set?
It depends on the situation. So if we're using an animal, it's usually a closed set because
Using an animal?
Yeah.
What are we talking
Okay,
like
okay,
raccoons
so-
or something?
our last film of the year, we're still working
Oh.
on the title. We use an
Oh.
animal, so you'll have to see which animal it is. So, but we do.
Can you give a hint? Furry reptile?
Is furry. Is furry.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not
It's
like
a lion.
it's a lizard. It's not like a lizard.
One of the chameleons with like hair on his back.
Ew.
Just kidding.
Yeah, that'd be
Just kidding,
crazy.
just kidding.
But
Warthog.
so with animals, like they can get really overwhelmed, and you don't want them to get distracted because these aren't like trained animals. These are like a dog or like a cat or like a hamster.
He
Ooh,
split
I
it.
mixed it up. No.
Oh, okay.
Or a rat.
We're gonna have to like cut that out.
Film rats are actually really good.
Okay,
They
you've
are-
done film rats?
So there's like different types of animals they train for film.
Yeah.
Cats are awful because you can't train like cats like do whatever they want. However, if you pick a certain type of breed, you could kind of be like, this one's more nonchalant. So you don't see like a lot of orange cats on film
Mhm.
sets. I have an orange cat named Good Time. Scratch you up. So like so they choose based off like different personalities some kind of cat breeds have, and they'll be like, this is we just sit in the shot for a second, and they will. Dogs are a lot better because you can train a dog. They can be a little goofy, but like most important thing about training them is just around the equipment, really. Rats, however, dude, you can like put them like they can be like on like a little like unicycle. You can have them jumping through hoops. Like rats are awesome, and they love people too. Yeah,
What?
film rats.
Actually,
Yeah. I mean, I don't have one. I feel like it'd be like, I guess I could train a rat. That'd be cool. New short film idea. It's just like a
How to
rat.
train your rat instead of how to train your dragon.
Heck yeah, dude, that'd be awesome. It could be like it could be
Idea
like
for next year.
Go
Doc-
Right now.
PetSmart.
Yes.
Can I
Your
get like
most
6
amazing
rats?
rat.
Yeah.
No, I went through a phase of wanting a rat, and they were always sold out because they're like 60 cents. Because usually people buy them to like feed their snake, so like they're viewed more as like the.
Or he's like, I'm buying a rat to like keep safe.
No, I do have a rat puppet, so
Hey,
Yeah.
well, there you go. If you can't get a live rat on
You
set,
get
here
a
comes
rat.
Worthing with his little rat puppet.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh my word. What would be like, I guess what are like the weirdest like film situations you've gotten? I know that you've gotten like spiders all over you from like trying to get a shot or something like
Oh,
that.
that was from pest control.
Yes, tell me about that.
So, basically, me and my dad do pest control. Snaps, another plugin, please.
Just like yeah.
Help put food on my table. But yeah, we were kind of talking about how difficult film is and how like I think it's harder than doing pest control. Pest control, like I've crawled under houses and have like a spider crawl on me, or like I've done ductwork cleaning. So like that stuff's manual labor. But film is very much kind of like very like emotional labor in a way, or like it can be really exhausting because like it's a lot of repetition, but also you care. Um, so it like physically hurts to see something not turn out the way you want it to, because like think of like your movie is kind of like your baby. And I know like people like say that like so cliche. They're like, oh, I love all my films. They're all my babies. Like yeah. So it's like it's not like people say that. It's like they're like, "Oh, I'm just joking around. It's just like films like in a way it is, because like as a parent, you're supposed to like nurture your child and becoming their own person, and that kind of happens with film and stuff like that. But like seeing something happen in your film, that like a shot didn't turn out, you didn't like it, or you don't like the lighting, or like something gets messed up in editing, it's like seeing your kid get hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a pain that happens, and of course you have the exact same passion to go and correct it and to fix it and turn it into something new, and that can be exciting. I mean, the same way like a kid getting hurt can lead to them growing on a path of something else in life that can lead them to do something better. um, I like scraped my toe against the pool at summer camp, and I like never did that again. So that was a bonus, because like I could have scraped it even worse. Like there are some really dangerous like pool floors. If I was scraped a toe at a pool floor,
I'm sorry, you're cracking me up.
dude, it feels like you're getting
Yeah.
hit. It's awful.
No, I know. Yeah.
So,
I've been there, done that. Didn't do it again. So hey,
yeah,
maybe you're onto
exactly.
something. Maybe you're
So
onto something.
I think I am, honestly.
Yeah, no
Like,
pain, no gain.
absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. No pain, no gain. So
What would be like your I guess kind of like your mentality towards getting your characters? Because I know you talked about how like the climax is so much fun and what happens after the climax is so much fun, but like getting to that point is like so stressful and so hard. Like what would be, I guess, your influence on your actors to like get them through that moment?
yeah. So for those sitting at home, we were talking about kind of like how the process of like filmmaking very much kind of replicates um stories in general. Like you got like the little story hill, you have like the rising action, the climax and stuff like that. And how what makes film exciting is kind of the trial and error, and like stuff will in some way go wrong. It doesn't mean that like your whole film gets deleted or anything like it's not extreme. Like something, at least something super minuscule and small will happen, and it will not be desirable. So you know that kind of part is kind of that uphill battle, because like being on set is really hard, but then it's really exciting when you're editing, because you get to see kind of the pieces come together. It's that climax, like going over that hill and kind of fighting to finish the process of filmmaking, is like that's the thrilling part that makes people love it so much.
Yeah.
But that also applies to actors. So a lot of actors like especially if they're new on set, they're not used to this because a lot of the kids are from theater, and theater is a lot of kind of like it's very obvious demonstrative movements because you're trying to.
We have a pause.
Don't clip that.
Please
That's going to
clip
the short.
that.
That's
That's
going
gonna
to the
be-
short.
Clip
That'll be
that.
the thumbnail. Yeah.
Go watch Worthy.
It's like, but you gotta be very demonstrative because
Yeah.
like your audience is not right in front of you, so like you have to kind of show your emotion. You gotta show what you're feeling from like the grandmother way all the way in the back, and she's like, "Oh wow, look at that kid," and it's like, "Yeah, look at that kid." So film though, the audience is right in front of you. Like they're
Yeah.
in your face. The audience is the camera. So which I keep on looking into. Hey. But the audience is the camera, and breaking that barrier can be really hard.
Yeah.
Especially like when you're in theater, like theater acting and film acting is very, 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 very different.
Mhm.
Because like subtlety is very important in film. You don't want someone being like, "Hey guys, what's up?" when it's like, dude, like your mom just died in the film, and it's like you can't be like loose, like you know what I'm saying. Now
Yeah.
that can apply.
Yeah. This is the time for closed scenes. You know?
Yeah.
You gotta let them cry.
You got to let them cry a little bit. Subtle
Exactly.
plug in our last film. We do have some goofy movements,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
but so you can. There's still a place for that, but a lot of
Mhm.
the time we want that subtlety. We want to kind of like, hey, bro, like stand still. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it can be hard. It is so like it can be very frustrating for the actors, which I 100% sympathize with.
Mhm.
Which one's like you haven't been through it, but you still have
I think
empathy?
it's
Is it empathy?
empathize or sympathize. I think it's sympathize.
Oh no, but we know what you're
Pull up the
what you're thinking.
definition on the screen.
We're gonna get this so wrong.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, all my English teachers.
Gosh.
I failed you.
But because like it can be frustrating. Like if you move a step out of frame, you're gonna be out of focus.
Yeah.
I don't want like even your shoulder being out of focus. Like I'm very much like I want it how I see it in my head, and I want it how the people in the department see it in their head, and
Mhm.
I fight for that vision so hard. And I mean, frustrating because then we can spend like a little bit being like she moves here to here and just finding that spot, and it can be frustrating. But once again, the kind of rising action, once they figure it out, like set becomes so enjoyable and stuff can get done like really fast. Um, Stalked was cool because it was kind of like the first one we did, Keeping Up with the Barbarian. That was like a mockumentary style, so it was just kind of like just sit and talk to the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Stalked was like us being like, okay, let's show we can actually do some cinematic stuff. So you get the cool stuff of like the family being out of frame and the bat swings from the camera and the camera focuses on the bat. So you get stuff like that. But it also changes how the actors kind of have to know how to move and stuff because it's different from just sitting in a chair to being like, okay, now move to the fridge. I open the fridge. I walk into the camera. There's all this stuff, and you got to watch out for lights, and equipment, and like the booms can get pretty close. Like if you like, I don't know, like step on your tippy toes, like you're gonna get smacked with a boom mic. So it's like,
Yeah.
I thought that's happened before, obviously, but you know, I have to clarify. It's not. It's not happened before, but like
They're abusing everybody with mics.
yeah, our actors
Said what?
are not
Get it
trying-
right.
Yeah, just hit them with the mic. Yes. But we still, you know, like there's a lot to change, but once they
Yeah.
get comfortable, it gets really fun and they get to like embody people in a different way. I think like I had one of our actors be like, dude, like you like reignited my passion for acting, which like felt really cool because I was like, dude, I don't know why you liked all because like we had you like you I had a quote from oh what's his name? I literally just listened to the Beatles documentary. Peter Jackson. Yeah, Peter Jackson did Lord of the Rings. So he's
Mhm.
talking about a scene he filmed for The Hobbit where he had all these dwarfs and he's like, you know, I could have had it be like CGI there in the water, but he's like, you gotta torture your actors once in a while. So he threw a bunch of actors down a river and washed them down. And they did multiple takes, so they were wet. And he's like, you know, it's the job of the director. You gotta torture your actors a little bit. And it's like you kind of You kind of do. I mean, I'm not obviously now, but like
You kind of do.
you
Hit him with that boom microphone.
Right, yeah.
not like when
Hey,
we were like
now you stand on your tippy toes.
yeah, it's like not like tasing them or anything like that, but like you kind of
Yeah.
don't be afraid to pull out that other side because like
Mhm.
depending on like when we first start filming, it gets kind of difficult to film a bunch of
Mhm.
scenes we want to film. You got to start out slow because you want your actors to get comfortable being in the characters on set. It's one thing if you're like rehearsing, but like when you're actually shooting, that anxiety comes in, bro, and that thing will snatch you up and it will get caught because you got the cameras. So you have like not only do you feel the anxiety like in your chest, you have all these like different embodiments that represent the anxiety, like the cameras, the people watching. Sorry, that's disgusting. Okay. But you have all these things that represent that. So, you you get like really freaked out, and
Yeah.
and you need them to feel comfortable and get in their characters because if you're playing a confident character, and your character's just like, and they're like kind of like tweaking out, and they're like all like nervous and stuff, like that's not good for the film, but also like not good for you either because like we want to give you something good to put on your acting reel, as well as like we want you to like also be comfortable, like
Yeah. You got to get them in their element.
yeah, you gotta get in the element because,
Yeah.
like, again, like I've said this 1,200 times, but, like, you're becoming a different person. Like, acting isn't just like I put on a mask and like I dance around and that's it. Like, no, you are the mask. Like, you gotta morph. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? That's why, some of the best actors, like, they every single role is like, dude, what? Like, I didn't even know that was you. Um,
Yeah.
and the job as a filmmaker is to elevate that, like to make sure, like give them a good lens, pun intended, for the audience to look through and to see all of that. So
Yeah. So I guess because I just got the 5-minute heads up from man Grayson. Yeah. Thank you, sir. The last the last little bit I want to hit on is like your perspective on how film impacts culture. Cause I know me and you talked about
yeah,
that yesterday, and that was sick the way that you described it. So just put it out there. What's your thoughts on that?
okay. So I think, gosh, I'm gonna sound like so what's it called? Pretentious. Yeah, I'm gonna sound so pretentious,
It's
but it's
okay.
like
You got it.
in my
Gotta be
opinion,
said.
in
Yeah.
my honest opinion, I think like film in a lot of ways is kind of like the pinnacle of art in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like it has everything: acting, music, sound effects, like animation, like anything you can think about that's art related, writing, like anything you can think about that's like art
Yeah.
related, film has it. So there's a lot of things you got to get right, but also because there's so much, you have such a large influence on like how people think. Um, I say this a lot, and it's so pretentious, but it's like filmmakers are kind of like the harbingers of culture in a way, because we really do affect how people think of something. Um, as a filmmaker, you have a lot of different jobs. You know, one is to obviously entertain. You got to entertain. You got to make sure people are having a good time. But also like you're also gotta show people other parts of the world. As a filmmaker, you kinda live life in, like, the 3rd person, where it's like, this is I am living to make sure other people are elevated while I get to create my art. That's the trade-off you get.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you kind of, you show how other people live and, like, be like, "Hey, maybe, you know, someone's not in a good situation, um, with their money or something like that." And usually people will be like, "Oh, go get a job," blah, 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 stuff like that, but then maybe you can show a film of, "No, this is a realistic kind of, like, something that could happen to somebody." Understanding it helps you love each other more, it helps you be better. Um, so film is important if used correctly because it can teach you how to love people more, it can draw attention to issues maybe, like, in society or just, like, things in general that we do incorrectly and treat each other wrong. So, it's really important that film gets done right. Um, now on the other side
Go, go, go.
yeah, just like
Finish your story. You got it.
Oh, yeah. So, On the other side, though, it can be like used incorrectly, where it's like, popcorn films and just watching films just to see something blow up 100% have their place. They do. I
Yeah.
love it. Like some of my favorite films are like that because they're entertaining. But the issue is when those films make so much money that all the studio heads and stuff like that are like, what if we start replicating that? Because like at the end of the day, they think of it as a business, less of like bringing money and supporting an art form. So they're like, let's just make some dough, guys. And we're like, yeah, sure. So if it works, we'll try and replicate it. The issue is when you water down all the really artful kind of stuff with all the kind of like, let's have people punch each other for an hour. You kind of like have people lose track of what makes films so great.
Mhm.
And also, like, I think that social media's kind of affected that too, where you have like TikTok, you have Instagram, like YouTube Shorts, even though I think I'm the only person that uses YouTube Shorts. But
But
yeah,
hey, it's all those good things. You know what I mean?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. But you have all these things that like, your attention is not as great. You just want content. And at the end
Yeah.
of the day, like studios have started having film be more like content than just simply this is an artist and this is what they think and this is who they want to elevate and here's how they want people to think about it.
Exactly.
And so you have what happens is you get people like starting to rock in their chairs at the theater. They're like, oh, I don't want a movie that starts off slow. I want someone to,
Mhm.
blow up. And it's like, let's not blow them up. Like, let's give them like at least like a second,
To
to
process.
process. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, but what happens is we start fleshing out everything out. And that's kind of where you get people being like, good movies aren't in the theaters anymore, which like
Yeah.
isn't entirely true. Like there is good stuff, but instead we aren't supporting and watching it because, like it or not, filmmaking is like about taking risks, the process, but also watching.
Exactly.
I think kind of like when we were like in like younger, like watching a movie, like you didn't know if it was going to be good or not, you just watched it. Now it's like you have to you stick with what's the same. I don't think people like two different stuff, but that's what makes filmmaking so great is you're pushing barriers of what you can do with visual storytelling. So when you kind of have people be like, "Rah, let's just," and you kind of
You got to push the barriers. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming in and
Absolutely.
filling us in on all your take on filmmaking and everything. You're
course.
absolutely killing it. So keep
you.
killing it.
guys too.
We're so proud of you. Let's freaking go. And go watch all the films.
Please
Go watch all the films. Go hit
Absolutely.
up all the plugs that Worthy mentioned.
Yeah, all
you
the
know,
plugs.
All the plugs. Thank you so much for coming in. That was so much fun. Oh, let's go.